Back in 2017, AMD released the RX 560, a card which was mostly aimed at not so demanding games. It could do well even at the more graphically demanding titles of that time. Exactly 6 years later, a 4GB model of the RX 560 will cost you less than $50. And over these years, there has been a lot of advancement in terms of graphical quality, and in general how much more demanding games have become, basically making any card that has less than 4GB of VRAM feel kind of obsolete. The model of the RX 560 I own at least fulfills the VRAM requirements. But can this card keep up with the latest titles of recent times? Titles that require a lot more than just a decent amount of VRAM. Let's find out in the benchmarks. Starting off with Doom Eternal, the 560 offers pretty decent results at 1080p, with all the settings turned down to low. The game runs at a solid 60 FPS on average, with excellent percentile figures, and if you need any more FPS, you could use the dynamic resolution scaling, although in my opinion, that's not really required here. Elden Ring also requires a lot of reduction in terms of visual quality, in order to run consistently over 30 FPS, but at least it's 1080p, a resolution which is the bare minimum in 2023 in my opinion, for any card to achieve in order to be considered for gaming purposes. Dying Light 2 is the first title of the day which takes advantage of the FSR feature. Although it's the least aggressive form of the FSR feature, nevertheless, it's enough to bring the game to a playable state, preventing drops below 30 FPS. Those upscaling technologies may be the saving grace for the older generation of GPUs, prolonging their lifespan for a couple of more years, and they are only getting better as time goes by. Another game in which the FSR feature helps out to a more stable experience is Far Cry 6. Once again, not much more than the least aggressive form of FSR is required, and you can enjoy the game at 1080p without a problem, albeit with a heavy reduction in visual quality, but not something we aren't used to by now. God of War tends to be quite intensive on GPUs that have less than 4GB of VRAM. It's not the case with the RX 560 we are testing. In order to use 1080p, you will need to set the FSR mode to balanced, to get an average of around 50 FPS, which is not that bad at all, although the effects of the upscaling technology can be seen a bit more here, but it's still an enjoyable experience. Today's benchmarks will mostly be at 1080p, with all the settings turned all the way down, and the Mafia remake being no exception to that. The game looks okay even at the heavily reduced settings, and on the 560 it runs well enough, never dropping below 30 FPS, mostly staying in the mid-30s, even going into the 40s from time to time. In the remastered version of The Witcher 3, once again, in order to use the Full HD resolution, you will need to turn every setting down, delivering in return FPS that isn't too bad, but at this point, I don't really know if it's even worth playing the remastered version, maybe just for the added gameplay features. Graphics-wise, it's not really a huge difference from the original game. In the newest release of the benchmark list, we have Atomic Heart, and we can see that the RX 560 is doing pretty well, though with a few big stutters here and there, but in general, it's a decent experience. And Atomic Heart offers a wide range of tweaks in order to make the experience even better, so there shouldn't be a problem with this one at least. Not a great one, but also not a terrible offer. This can more or less sum up the RX 560's performance in newer games. There are a lot of new games coming out that are even more demanding. Therefore, I highly doubt that the card will be able to achieve 1080p in those as well. It all depends on the price you get this card for. Personally, I wouldn't pay more than $50, and I would honestly avoid the 2GB models. One thing is for sure, now that the RX 560's price has fallen below $50, kind of makes the RX 550's existence obsolete, for obvious reasons like a big performance difference for basically no extra cost, and both of them are pretty power efficient, so that's another thing proving the pointless existence of the lower-end Polaris-based GPU. As for the overall performance of the 560, it's more or less decent, although if you have the opportunity and a bit more to spend, I would go with the RX 570, which would be the bare minimum for any serious AAA gaming nowadays. This concludes today's GPU review. Consider subscribing to not miss out on my future projects. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.